97% of HR professionals say that employees with disabilities perform the same or better than their peers without disabilities, yet still the differently abled face so many employment challenges in this country.
It is time we start building a workforce that works for all. A workforce that is diverse, inclusive, and equitable for those with intellectual differences.
And for those with developmental differences, too.
A workforce that recognizes that our greatest strengths lie in our differences.
Join us, Delivering Jobs and the SHRM Foundation, in creating pathways to 1 million jobs and leadership opportunities. Please visit deliveringjobs.org.
Furnished by the Entertainment Industry Foundation.
They play country, we play real country. Today's country hits and yesterday's legends. Real Country Radio.
Tell me about the good old days. Sometimes it feels like this world's gone crazy. Grandpa, take me back to yesterday, when the line between right and wrong didn't seem so hazy. Did lovers really fall in love to stay and stand beside each other, come what may? Promise really something people meant, not just something they would say. Families really bow their heads to pray. Daddies really never go away. Oh, oh, Grandpa, tell me about the good old days. Everything is changing fast. We call it progress, but I just don't know. And Grandpa, let's wander back into the past, then paint me the picture of long ago. Lovers really fall in love to stay, stand beside each other, come what may. Promise really something people kept, not just something they would say and then forget. Families really bow their heads to pray. Daddies really never go away. Oh, oh, Grandpa, tell me about the good old days. Oh, oh, Grandpa, tell me about the good old days.
Judge, Grandpa, tell me about the good old days. It is National Bacon Day. You can enjoy that while watching a Kevin Bacon movie, I guess. Zach Brown Band, here's Whatever It Is Now on Real Country.
She got eyes that cut you like a knife and her lips that taste like sweet red wine, and her pretty legs go to heaven every time. She got a gentle way that puts me at ease, and when she walks in the room I can hardly breathe. Got a devastated smile, knock a grown man to his knees. She got one of them idiots, it blows me away. She's everything I want to say to a woman, but I couldn't find the words to say. She got one of them idiots, I don't know what to do. Every time I try to tell her how I feel, it comes out, I love you. You got whatever it is. You know I've never been the type that would ever want to stay. Bring them home at night and they're gone the next day. But that all changed when she walked into my life. And people asking why it is, tell them I don't know. That just something about the woman makes my heart go haywire. She's gonna be my wife. She got one of them idiots, it blows me away. She's everything I wanna say to a woman, but I couldn't find the words to say. She got one of them idiots, I don't know what to do. Every time I try to tell her how I feel, it comes out, I love you. You got whatever it is. That's how I feel, 'cause when she loves me, I'm on top of the world. It's when she loves me, no, I can live forever. And when she loves me, I am untouchable. She got one of them idiots, it blows me away. She's everything I want to say to a woman, but I couldn't find the words to say. She got one of them idiots, I don't know what to do. 'Cause every time I try to tell her how I feel, it comes out, I love you, I do. You got whatever it is. Oh, you got whatever it is.
Now in Poughkeepsie at 96.5 FM.
My heart said go ahead and make a bid on that. And I said, hey pretty lady, won't you give me a sign? I'd give anything to make you mine on mine. I'll do your bidding and be at your beck and call. Yeah, I've never seen anyone looking so fine. Man, I gotta have her, she's a one of a kind. I'm going once, going twice, I'm sold. Row. She's an 8, she's a 9, she's a 10, I know. She's got ruby red lips, blonde hair, blue eyes, and I'm about to bid my heart goodbye. Well, the auctioneer was going about a mile a minute. He was taking bids and calling them out loud. And I guess I was really getting in it, 'cause I just shouted out above the crowd. And I said, hey pretty lady, won't you give me a sign? I'd give anything to make you mine on mine. I'll do your bidding and be at your beck and call. Yeah, I've never seen anyone looking so fine. Man, I gotta have her, she's a one of a kind. I'm going once, going twice, I'm sold on a lady in a long black dress. Well, she won my heart, it was no contest. With her ruby red lips, blonde hair, blue eyes. Well, I'm about to bid my heart goodbye.
On 920 WGHQ. Good morning. You're now listening to Kingston Community Radio, airing on FM 92.5 and AM 920 WGHQ in Kingston, New York. This programming is brought to you by our listeners and corporate underwriters who are interested in presenting local community radio. The opinions expressed on this program do not represent those of Pamel Broadcasting or Kingston Community Radio. Listeners are encouraged to send in $10 per month to help bring this program to you, and mail your contributions to Kingston Community Radio, Post Office Box 4364, Kingston, New York 12402. For more information or to donate online, visit our website at mykcr.org. And good morning for this Super Wednesday. It's Wednesday, December 30th. 2 days left in the year, and it's 21 degrees this morning, and a morning mix of clouds and sun, then more cloudy skies in the afternoon, a high of 37. Tonight, 67% chance of evening showers, becoming an overnight steady light rain, low 33 tonight. Thursday, New Year's Eve, overcast day with a high of 42. And Thursday night, a few overnight clouds with a low of 23. And we'll be right back.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM. And also online at mykcr.org.
Do you love the festive decorations and colorful lights of the holiday season? Visit Central Hudson's Instagram page, Central_Hudson, to vote for your favorite photo capturing the best decorated home in the Hudson Valley. Be sure to follow our Instagram page so that you may choose your favorite photo. Hurry, voting ends at noon on Wednesday, December 30th.
We are Lions. We bring hope where it's needed. We are a global force for good. Support causes that matter. Change lives. Change communities. Change the world. We can do more together than we can alone. Join in. Experience the joy of serving. Be part of the movement. Give back. Let's unite the world for good. We are Lions. You can be too. Visit weserve.org.
Hi, my name is George Post from Ulster Park, New York, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you. Where else can you speak to your local representatives on the air and have your questions answered? So thank you, and support KCR.
And you're listening to KCR, Kingston Community Radio, WGHQ 920 on your AM dial and 92.5 FM, and streaming online at mykcr.org. KCR is talk radio and a call-in show, so call in. 331-9255. That's your number. And let's get to the on-air studio with Greg Shorvis. And I believe we have Freddie Costello on the line right now to join you.
Thank you, Dan Gatis, and good morning. Good morning, listeners. 331-9255 is our call-in number. And on virtually, as Dan mentioned, is Supervisor Fred Costello from Saugerties. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Greg. Good morning, listeners. How are you all doing?
As usual, we are doing. Don't ask me what, but we're doing.
Stay busy.
You still there, Fred?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Can you guys hear me okay?
Okay, yeah, just had to adjusting the volume control. You were quite low. And do we have Supervisor McKenna on also?
I'm here. How are you guys doing?
Oh, wow, you come across very loud. Fred is very low. You're very... Fine, thank you.
You're the first person to tell me that. So listen, if you guys want to do the first half hour, I can come on the second half hour. I'm going to have Heather Amy or Deputy Highway Superintendent on with me. You want to do that so we don't tie up both lines?
Oh, that's great.
Fantastic. Okay, I'll call back at 7:30.
I mean, but if you do want to... But hey...
New Year's Eve went. I mean, Christmas Eve.
Say that again, Fred? Didn't hear you.
Oh, boy. Before you go, why don't you give us an update on Christmas Eve?
Christmas Eve?
Yeah.
Oh, we got washed out, my friend.
You did.
Yes. You know, Christmas Eve morning, we started to take a look at the weather forecast, and they were calling, I think by the end of the storm, we had over 6 inches of rain up here. So we just felt that we weren't going to be able to safely pull it off. We were going to have too much traffic backed up on 212. So unfortunately, and I think it's the first time it's been canceled since it started back in the early 1930s.
Wow.
So, you know, it was disappointing, but it was really unanimous. My entire safety committee, when we looked at it, we just, nobody was comfortable with the idea. And nobody was happy about having to call it off. But, so thank you for asking. You guys have a good Christmas?
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. Looking forward to the new year.
We're almost there.
Yes, yes.
This is our last show for this year, right?
Yeah.
2 more days to go.
Unbelievable.
All right, well, listen, I'll let you guys chat, and I'll call back at 7:30.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. So, yeah, it certainly was a different Christmas for all of us. If any of our listeners would like to call in and share their new experience for Christmas, please feel free to do so. 331-9255 is our call-in number. Or anything in general, any questions you have, would like to address to either the supervisor or myself, would love to hear from you.
Yes. Yep. We had our last Christmas party, I think, last night, right, Greg?
I guess you could call it that. Sure, our last rec committee meeting, which generally is a get together, not as large as normal.
No, well, that's
which is good. Which is good.
Yeah.
And like how you had the
times.
Like how you had the table set up. There was every other seat at the table, so there was some distancing, and I felt very, very safe.
Yeah.
There's certain establishments, and not because I'm talking about yours, but we do feel safe going into yours. As you know, we go into yours, but there's some others I'm just a little leery of.
Yeah, and I get a sense even from our customers that people are nervous right now. There seems to be a really high rate of community spread amongst our neighbors, and people are sensitive to that, which is the appropriate response.
Yes, and people should be, sensitive to it because it's unfortunately the way the numbers have gone, and the fact that December now is going to turn out to be the worst month of the pandemic. You look back and you see what we went through in April and even May, and to think, that's the case, that it's going to be one of the still. Why don't you go there, and I'll go over to here, and then we have our social distancing. So, Bill Murphy, mayor from the Village of Saugerties, just walked in and joined us. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Apologize for my tardiness. I actually got up even extra early today. Left the house at 6:20. Stopped and got my coffee. Figured I had plenty of time, and once you know, I get behind a 30-mile-an-hour car the whole way down here. So, no good deed goes unpunished.
It never, ever fails, does it?
No. Not too bad, though. I called Freddie time. I'm on Freddie time.
You're on Freddie time?
Freddie time.
Yeah, I called in on time.
Oh, he's there, is he?
Well,
yeah, I'm here.
Oh, sorry, buddy.
Now, hold on a second. If you're on Freddie time, you're 6 minutes early.
Yeah.
It's 7:09.
That's right.
True. Hey, Fred.
Good morning, Murph. How you doing?
I missed you yesterday. I think it was the first day we haven't talked in weeks.
I know. I was thinking about you, though.
Oh, okay. As long as you were thinking about me, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
All that matters. So what's going on? What are we talking about?
Well, we were talking about Bill McKenna was on, and how for a short bit he's going to join us at 7:30 with his highway or his deputy highway superintendent, one or the other, and how they've. What did he say, Fred? First time in 32 years they had to cancel their Christmas Eve at the Green.
Okay. No, I actually think it was since 1932.
Oh, it has been going on since 1932. Wow.
Yeah.
So
it was almost 90.
90.
Years.
Wow. Wow.
Well, think about it. It's the first year in 101 we didn't do the candy run in the village.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
This would have been the 101st year.
That's right. Yeah, last year was the 100th anniversary.
Yeah, so it's kind of almost ironic. We got 100 years in, and, and I think people understood. Some people were disappointed. They did go out the week before, like other fire companies did, and with Santa. And, they're always willing to do what they got to do, but...
So I'm just wondering, you think back, the last pandemic that the world experienced in the United States, I wonder if that Christmas run was a result of coming out of the pandemic.
What, 1919, right?
Yeah.
True.
I'm just wondering, because I believe
That's an
it was...
interesting thought.
What's that?
That is an interesting thought.
Yeah, I wonder, if that's what provoked it, inspired it.
Could very well have been.
Yeah.
Because I believe the pandemic started in late 17, and then the height of it was 18 and the first part of 19.
Well, you were alive back then, you don't remember?
Oh, yeah. But that's interesting when when you stop and think about that it was 100 years ago last year.
In a way, too. I mean, those people don't realize, that the Village Fire Company, Hooks and Snyder, and all three companies. I mean, they give up their Christmas. These guys, they do 2 shifts, but they each do about a 6-hour shift, and some do the whole day. And so it's probably bittersweet, nice for them that they actually got to spend a Christmas day home for a change. But every year, a lot of the same guys. I don't want to say names because I don't want to leave anybody out, but the same guys are dedicated to it every year, and they get up at 9 o'clock in the morning. They start. They're there the day before, 2 days before Christmas, preparing all the candy. Mm-hmm. They put a lot of time into it. And so I'm sure, as disappointing as it was, it might have been nice for them to have a Christmas home for a change. So, but hopefully next year we'll start the next 100-year trend.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was certainly different for everyone, but still, we got to enjoy it. I had a very enjoyable, Christmas.
Yeah, it was different.
Yeah, it certainly was different, and hopefully next year when we're in our new normal, we'll be back to celebrating with our families, with groups of 2 dozen. But
we went from our normal 25 to 30 Italian Christmas Eve to 8. They just are 4, and then my wife's sister and husband and their 2 daughters. But it was different. But I think the smaller group actually we had, they stayed till midnight. We did a Christmas Eve pajama party. Each family had matching pajamas, and we did karaoke and we played board games, and everybody had a few cocktails. My daughter Jacka was making chocolate martinis, for everybody, and. We actually made the most out of it. It was disappointing not having the rest of the family there. And then the next day, we did some porch visits for Christmas. Went to my mother-in-law's house and stood on the porch and exchanged gifts. Kind of weird, but we did what we had to do. They're older; they didn't want to come out, but not that old, Mom. In case you're listening, I know she listens to this show. You're very young, but
That's right.
So we did what we had to do. We got through it, And then Christmas Day was just kind of like just the 4 of us home all day, and we had leftovers for dinner and. It was relaxing, Netflix, thank God for Netflix.
Yep. Murph, I don't know why it struck me when you said porch visit. Mm-hmm. Everybody who's listening knows what a porch visit is. Yep. 10 years from now, if you say porch visit, you're going to be like, what's that? Yep. I'll have to explain it.
Oh, it's a new trend,
Yeah.
And it was cool. I mean, thank God Christmas Day, it was a little rainy, but it wasn't really cold out, so you were able to get out.
Actually warm. It was comfortable.
Yeah, Christmas Day was.
Yeah, so and now New Year's Eve, we're probably going to do the same thing. My daughters want to have a couple friends over, so Dana and I aren't going to have anybody over. We'll let them each have a couple friends over, and then I think New Year's Day Dana and I will have a couple people over, But keeping everything under 10, And I don't know, just listen to CNN on the way down, my new favorite station ever since the election. I call Comedy Central now because it's entertaining. Just everything that's going on in the world and just different opinions. I mean, I'm not taking sides on anything, but this new strand they're talking about, and the 2 cases that were detected in Colorado for this new strand of COVID, and these are 2 people that have not traveled at all, and in their 20s.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah,
which they said is scary because that means that it's obviously been here quite a while, And I think they said part of the reason it wasn't picked up before because wasn't being tested for the strand. You
got to stop and think. Every year, the tens and tens of thousands of people that die from flu, was it really from the flu? I think the coronavirus has been here.
Yeah.
And when people had really bad cases, like they're experiencing now, and people got hospitalized or on ventilators for the flu, was it really the flu?
Pneumonia.
They don't know because, as you said, they weren't testing for it. They weren't testing for it.
I think it's obviously something that's existing long before, early 2020 or late 2019. It had to be to spread this far. And I just said the other day that the last continent that didn't have COVID now has COVID, which is Antarctica. They had the first test positive of COVID in Antarctica.
How recently?
Oh, really?
Last week.
Oh, last week.
Yes, and they're the last continent not to have any positive test.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
there's nowhere left safe.
It's...
Space station in the moon, and that's it.
I tell you, it's changed. I mean, my perspective is constantly changing on it, where I'm getting more and more concerned about it. I mean, I read about that congressman-elect in Louisiana last night, 41 years old. Picture of health.
Yeah.
Got tested positive on December 18th. Decided self-quarantine at home with his family. Died last night.
Yeah.
41 years old. I mean, he was supposed to be sworn in, next week or this weekend or whatever.
New Year's Day, yeah.
Yeah, today. And it's just, it's scary now. It's definitely more, I've always had a fear of it, but I mean, I think the fact that it's just not going away and staying here.
I think, we've all had a degree of fear, but I think it's elevated. At least it is with me.
It is with me too.
I know, I've been cautious through this whole thing. Now I would say that I'm more cautious than ever, and do things that I wasn't doing early on. Okay, even though the manner that I was doing it was being cautious. Now I'm just taking that other step.
I have to take my daughter, on January 16th, we have to take Jacqueline to college, Coastal Carolina, down in Myrtle Beach. I mean, they got the okay to go. They're planning on going, and I want her to go. She's been home for 9 months now. I mean, she's 20-year-old, vibrant. She needs her space,
Right.
and she's really looking forward to it. And we literally have to go down and bring her back and cannot be in the state of South Carolina more than 24 hours. That's, without coming back and having to self-quarantine. So, I mean, it's just, it's weird. Like, we're looking at all the guidelines. If we stay in the state of South Carolina more than 24 hours, then we have to quarantine for 10 days when we get back. Something like that. So we're going down, we're driving through. Mm-hmm. We're going to try to get there, late Saturday night. Her check-in's 10:30 Sunday morning and be on our way home by Sunday afternoon. I mean, it's just, I'm not going to be able to spend really any time with her. But I'm also scared, we're going to leave her there. I mean, she can have her car and all that, so obviously if something comes home, she can jump in her car and drive home. But it's just, I don't know. I mean, I'm really, really nervous about it because what am I going to do if I get a call a week later that, she's 1,500 miles away or whatever? What can I do? 1,200 miles away. It's tough.
This wave of the spread is completely different than the spring. In the spring, we all knew someone probably at an institution of some sort that was going through the virus. But now we're dropping soup off at our neighbor's house because they're the ones who have it, and a coworker or a close friend. And it is very close to home this cycle. And I think that
Absolutely.
is what's making us more sensitive.
I mean, up to a month ago, I think I knew one person who tested positive. And now in the last month, including Freddie himself, and dozens of people in the last month.
Yeah. It's been rampant, and it has not slowed down. We're on the daily. We're dealing with people who have been exposed and are potentially going to get the virus. So we're trying to manage that situation in a way that it doesn't cause spread. And I think that's just going to be the normal for a little while, unfortunately.
I believe. Well, I think you're going to see some major conditions put in place after inauguration. I think, President Biden-elect's got some plans for, which some people will accept and some won't. But I think you're going to see a more firm take on it from our federal government, And
there has to be. There has to be. There's obviously been, right off the bat, a breakdown in administering the vaccines, the distribution of the vaccines. They're shooting for 20 million. They're at, 2.1 million?
Yep.
Last evening.
Billions, and Biden's got to pledge 1 million a day for 100 days. That's what he wants to do. He wants to ramp it up to 100 million vaccines a day, 1 million vaccines a day for 100 days consecutive.
Wow.
He wants 100 million people vaccinated by the end of March.
Well,
I 100% support that, and that should be.
If we don't have the infrastructure to do that, then no country does.
Vaccinated, this will end.
Yeah,
that'll be the end of it.
You almost took the words right out of my mouth. If we don't have the ability to do that, and we don't have the infrastructure to do that, no other country does. And unfortunately, right now, and you hate it, but it always seems it's part of the picture. I'm sure one of the underlying, if not the primary underlying cause of the delay, goes back to the federal government and the politics.
I have no question about it.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Well, look what's going on with the stimulus check right now, Mitch McConnell. It's not getting into politics on this show, but it's disgusting.
Well, yeah, and there comes a point where just everybody, regardless of their political affiliation,
do what's right.
Exactly, do what's right for the American people. Number one, do what's right for you. Do what's right for the position that you hold, that the people elected you for. And that's not happening.
No, unfortunately, it's not. And, hopefully that's going to change. I mean, we don't know. I mean, we elected President Biden, or President-elect Biden, and, he got elected, I think, for people want that change and want to see things happen. But we'll see,
And I think, you know what, I'm optimistic. I really
am. Too. Absolutely.
I am optimistic. And, we were going to have an individual on this morning who is... But unfortunately, he had a commitment with a virtual meeting with some higher ups. In fact, would be his mom that calls in every week, Frank Rauschendorfer. Okay. That works for UPS. Now you say, why for UPS? Well, we had quite we ran in for dinner on Christmas Eve, and he's in charge of in the region of the distribution that UPS is doing of the vaccine.
Wow.
It was quite interesting. And I says, look, I got to get you on the radio. This is some interesting stuff.
If you told me that 35 years ago in high school, that Frank would be in charge of that, I would have laughed at you. But, I grew up with Frank, good friends. But, I mean, he's really, he's had a tremendous career with UPS, and that's very impressive.
I did not know that until he told me. And, I don't know how we got on the subject. We were at the Avenue. Jen and I went to the Avenue Christmas Eve. It wasn't our usual 14 or 15 either. And he was at the other table, came over and chatted, and we got talking. And he said, sure. And but with anything, with that type of position, I'm sure everything changes, not only daily basis, it could be hourly basis.
And just on a side note, a good story about Frank. When we were in high school, Frank used to work midnights at UPS and then come to school.
He's been with them that long?
Since high school. He started in high school. He would work till 6 a.m. and then come to school. Like, wow. I know our senior year, and that's when he started with them. He started part-time with them when we were in high school. I vividly remember that. He was like, I remember him saying, Murph, I think at least our senior year, if not probably longer, but he would work the overnight shift and then come to school the next day.
I did not know
That's how long he's been with UPS.
Wow. So he's been there a long time.
Yeah, he's really, like I said, he's really made impressive career out of it.
Yeah, and obviously had initiative, worked his way up the ladder, and has promoted himself, and has done real well for himself.
Very impressive.
It is. So hopefully he can, in a couple of weeks, that second Wednesday, we have an opening. I'm going to reach out to him, see if he's available, because that'd be some interesting cool stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, I mean, I'm fascinated by how they are getting it out and the distribution, and not only that, but the containers has got to be kept in 32 degrees below, or 32 minus.
The one has to be kept at 94 below.
Yeah, minus 32 Celsius or something like that, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Celsius. Yeah, I'm not too good.
I'm not either. I just remember hearing him say
the Celsius Fahrenheit conversion.
I'm still a Fahrenheit guy, but I just heard him say that, and it's like. But now I guess this third one that's getting approved now that they said it's on the verge of being approved. I guess it doesn't have the same storage requirements as the other two.
Yeah, so and Moderna is much less.
Much less, right? Moderna, the second one, yes.
Okay. Now I believe this one coming, Johnson & Johnson.
That's not the name. I mean, that's not what they're calling it, but maybe it was. I just heard on the radio on the way down. I didn't pick up that it was Johnson & Johnson. Maybe it is.
I know there's 3 others that are out there, and one is very, very close to getting.
They said England now has enough vaccine for all the population.
Now, how is that?
Well, they also don't have a big population either. But they said,
that's true.
They said I just heard that literally as I was walking in. Huh. They said England has enough for the entire population right now. So.
One of the rubs with the newest vaccine, though, is that the effective rate was only 70%.
Right.
Which isn't as good as Moderna and the Pfizer vaccine.
But I think
it was AstraZeneca.
Right, that's what it was, AstraZeneca.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
But they also said that the normal flu vaccine is only 70-75% either. I think they said.
Yep.
Well, if you recall, early on when they were talking about vaccines, they were hoping they could get 70 or 75%.
Correct. So, yes.
So when Pfizer came out with the 94%, and then Moderna comes out, okay, with basically the same thing, but then takes it a step further and says 100% do not get seriously ill from the illness.
But doesn't it amaze you that when we were pushed to the brink on this, we were able to come up with this vaccine, yet, for hundreds of years, we cannot find a cure for cancer, cannot find a cure for ALS, cannot find a cure for these other diseases that are out there. But yet, and obviously it's great that we did, but I just wonder why, what does it take sometimes? And obviously it's been great advancements in cancer treatment and things like that, but, and other diseases, but it just seems
I hate to say this, and people have asked me this before, and this is just my personal opinion. I could be way off base. I truly believe.
And you're going to say it. I'm going to say the same thing. Go ahead.
That the reason there hasn't been a cure for cancer is because it's a money-making proposition.
There's more money in finding a cure than it is having a cure.
Absolutely.
I agree.
And the jobs that would be lost.
You hate to think that.
You do hate to think of it. Yes. And again, this is my personal opinion only. I'm not speaking for anyone else. I'm sure some of our listeners are totally off base with me. But I truly believe, because you hit the nail right on the head. When push came to shove, we were able to come up with a vaccine. Now, why, after all these years, as you just mentioned, have we not been able to find a cure for cancer, especially with the billions and billions of dollars that have gone into research and the hundreds of thousands of people that their livelihood is cancer research?
Right. It's, everything, ALS.
I understand why
Alzheimer's.
You conclude what you're suggesting, Greg, but I think one of the positives of the virus is going to be the RNA technology that enabled the vaccine to come into reality. This is something that's never been done by science before.
Sure.
It's a brand new way to develop a vaccine. Prior to this, they would grow virus on eggshells, harvest it and kill it, and make a vaccine out of it. Now, this one they're able to do in less than a year because they actually fragment the DNA code of the virus and inject pieces of that virus into our body, and that will spawn our natural immune system to create antibodies. I think the exciting thing about it, beyond that it will get us through the virus, is that it's the opportunities to cure other diseases, I think, are almost infinite. And now that this technology is proven to be working and effective, the applications for it, I think, are going to really be a sea change moment for the medical community and the opportunities to cure many, many other diseases.
Well, let's hope so. Obviously, as usual, Fred's always smarter than we are, Greg.
Yeah.
But that's okay. No, it's a great point, and I hope so. Like you said, we got to take something good's got to come out of this, and maybe that's it. And maybe that's going to create more jobs in research and areas of that, and get our economy back too as well.
Yeah, I think there's a fair amount of local young folks.
That's it. It's a good opportunity for younger folks. Yep.
Kind of exciting.
I mean, I have two daughters in college. One in college, one going to college. I mean, listen, there's going to be more opportunities in that field.
Absolutely.
So we are at the bottom of the hour. We will be back in a few listeners with Supervisor McKenna, Supervisor Costello, Mayor Murphy, and I know Supervisor McKenna is going to have either his highway superintendent or deputy on. So it should be a good half hour with the five of us. It's all yours, Dan.
Okay, and thank you, Bill Murphy, and we've got Fred Costello online and Greg Shorvis. Thank you for bringing us around for this first half hour, and thank you, Bill McKenna. You're listening to KCR, Kingston Community Radio, on AM 920 and 92.5 FM. My name is Dan Gatis, and it is 7:31 a.m., Wednesday, December 30th, and 23 degrees here in Uptown Kingston. A morning mix of clouds and sun, then more cloudy skies in the afternoon, a high of 37. And tonight, 67% chance of evening showers, becoming an overnight steady light rain, a low of 33. Thursday, New Year's Eve, overcast day with a high of 42. And New Year's Eve night, a few overnight clouds, and a low of 23. We'll be right back after these messages.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Do you love the festive decorations and colorful lights of the holiday season? Visit Central Hudson's Instagram page, Central_Hudson, to vote for your favorite photo capturing the best decorated home in the Hudson Valley. Be sure to follow our Instagram page so that you may choose your favorite photo. Hurry, voting ends at noon on Wednesday, December 30th.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute? When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can. But it's just as important to take time for yourself. AARP can help. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Cameron Rylance from Kingston, and I support Kingston Community Radio because it's informative.
And you're listening to Kingston Community Radio, AM 920 and 92.5 FM, and streaming online at mykcr.org. It's Wednesday, December 30th, and 23 degrees now here in Uptown Kingston. This upcoming portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Many locations throughout the Mid-Hudson Valley, locations near you. And let's get back to the on-air studio with Greg Shorvis and Bill Murphy and Fred Costello. Welcome back.
Thank you, Dan Gatis, and welcome back, listeners who have been with us and those just joining us. Good morning. 331-9255 is our call-in number. We had a lively conversation the first half hour. And who do we have Supervisor Fred Costello?
They'll have to call. Please call in. I noticed that Supervisor Costello was off, and here's a call coming in. Just a moment.
Okay. So 331-9255 is our call-in number. We would love to hear from you. It is a talk radio show, and we'll see who this is. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Good to hear your voice again, Supervisor.
Thank you. So I am joined here in my office by Heather Amy, who is our Deputy Highway Superintendent for the Woodstock Highway Department. Welcome,
awesome.
Heather.
Good morning.
Good morning, Heather.
Morning.
And we've got Bill Murphy, Mayor of the Village of Saugerties, in the studio here with us.
I will.
How are you, Bill?
Good, pal. Haven't seen you in...
It's been ages.
Pre-COVID.
It's probably so.
I do see your picture in the paper every once in a while, so. I hang them up on my refrigerator just so I can remember you.
Okay, I'll send you an updated picture.
I drew a few mustaches on it and things, but that's okay.
My hair's a little grayer.
What did you just say away from the mic? You throw darts at it?
No, I draw mustaches on it. No darts, I promise.
So I got a couple of questions that I'm going to throw to Heather here. First off, how long have you been with the department, Heather?
March will be 4 years.
Okay. And what position, because deputy superintendent is not an actual position, the position we hire for, so what position do you hold there?
So I was hired as the secretary for the highway department and became deputy just about a year in.
After that, okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you. The highway secretary prior was also deputy, so it was following in her footsteps.
Well, that's certainly a good way to get acclimated with the workings of the department, and then move on to obviously second in command.
Yeah, there's two deputies. There's another one, Scott Bonesteel, and he handles most of the on the road stuff, and I do most of. I don't want to say all of. I do most of in the office.
Nice.
And how big a department is it?
16. We've got 16 people in our department.
Okay.
On a good day.
That's with you and the superintendent.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know we're down a couple of guys now. We're hiring. Murph, can you drive a truck?
Not anymore. Just ex-Greg. He tried that with me about 20 years ago, or 30 years ago. It didn't work out too well.
Interesting story.
And don't let him get it into a front end loader either.
Okay. So Heather, have they let you run the front end loader?
They have not let me run the loader, but they did let me take a big mountain truck around the parking lot the other day with a big mountain plow truck. So that was fun.
Okay, you didn't hit anything?
I didn't hit anything, but the big joke is that they're going to put me in a plow truck, and I don't think so.
Well, I suggested it to Mike.
You did. You certainly did.
So
you know what?
You're one step ahead of the mayor then, because it sounds like he did hit something.
Oh.
So obviously up there in Woodstock, Heather, it can be from one section of your jurisdiction to another, can be a whole different world.
Oh, it certainly can. There was a storm, I think it was 2 years ago, where the Xena end of town was this crazy windstorm. And then the mountain end of town up in Willow, the guys were coming back with snow on their plow trucks. So half the crew was out plowing and the other half was out with chainsaws. And we just kind of met in the middle, and it was a whirlwind of a day.
You experience that, though, pretty much on a regular basis, where even just during straight winter precipitation events where you may be getting rain down in Woodstock, but up the hill, up in Willow, it's snowing?
We do. It's definitely a regular occurrence where the mountain trucks will have to go out and plow or ice, salt and sand, and it'll be raining everywhere else.
That's got to present some interesting challenges.
It does. And I think the interesting challenge of it is that the mountain runs are quite intimidating. These big mountain roads are quite intimidating. You have to take bigger four-wheel drive trucks up there. Everything, for the most part, has chains on it. It's definitely challenges that I think a lot of other people don't recognize.
I often think the same, with the up on the mountaintop, Hunter, Tannersville, with some of the roads up there that they have to navigate, and especially with the snows that they get. I mean, look at in the last 10 years, some of the storms that they have gotten with the ridiculous, copious amounts of snow, like that one storm that dumped about 6 feet of snow, that March storm, what about 5-6 years ago? Maybe it's been a little more than that. But that's crazy. And try to keep up with a storm of that size that's dumping snowfall rates at 2-3 inches an hour in itself has got to be is quite a challenge, as I know.
I mean, look at a challenge we had 2 weeks ago, just with 14 inches. I mean, that was a big storm for us, the biggest ones we had in a while, and it posed challenges.
So that last storm, Heather, how much did you get up on the on the mountain, so to speak?
If I remember correctly, the other deputy said around his house there was 24.
24. Wow. But yet down in Woodstock, what, about 14, 15?
14, 15.
Yeah.
So now, Greg was talking about Hunter. I believe that a couple of our roads actually end in Hunter, correct?
Yeah, it's the Greene County.
Yeah.
Top of Silver Hollow Road is Greene County.
Wow. Oh, wow.
So we actually do plow some of Hunter's roads for them.
I didn't realize that.
I didn't either, no. Wow.
Okay, so then that just kind of like loops around, it must, right?
Well, it's a dead-end road. It ends in the mountains. So it's just where the county line is.
Okay.
We maintain it. Well, we plow it, and they come and do the drainage for it in, summer and springtime. But we maintain it in the winter.
So both, there's really two roads, Mink Hollow and Silver Hollow, and I think at one time both those roads probably ran through and up into Hunter.
Probably.
But the middle part was given up at some point, and the connection was kind of broken.
So both of those roads are dead-end roads?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, so from Woodstock, there's not a contiguous road that will get you into Hunter or Greene County?
No.
Okay, that's what I had thought.
Not unless you want to take an ATV.
Don't think so.
So Heather, I know besides being a deputy and I always prefer office manager because that's really what your task is, managing that office. What other tasks have you been involved with here in Woodstock?
Well, when I first started, we had a bridge. It's the Mink Hollow Bridge that was struggling, and it started to fail. And we have a temporary bridge up now, but that led me to working on grants. I've done a lot of grant writing for the town. I even went to a grant writers training with Grant Writers USA, and most recently, very excited about this one, just was awarded a $15,000 grant for live scan equipment for the police department, for the Woodstock Police Department. So I work on the grants for the town alongside of a few other people here. We work together.
So it's not just the highway department that benefits, but the general fund as well.
You could say that, yeah.
In this day and age, to get grant funding, it's so difficult, especially in this pandemic era. Good for you. That's good to hear. So obviously you're using your resources outside of the specific department that you work for.
Yeah, and Aaron Bennett with the county, he was wonderful in getting me acclimated to grant writing when I had to start with some of these bridge projects that we were working on.
What's your grand total at this point?
What's my grant total? Hold on, I have it written down.
Digging for it.
Roughly 1.4 million.
Wow.
That's impressive. So that's in less than 3 years.
Right. Not all awarded. I mean, well, it was all awarded. It just hasn't come to completion yet. Right.
Good.
And there
good
may
for
be
you.
one or two that we don't actually end up using at the end of the day. Sometimes with these grants, the requirements that they put in make the project even more costly.
Yeah.
But impressive that you're getting the grants. I mean,
thank you.
To get them is a real pat on the back.
You're right on the other part, Bill. About recently we're finally utilizing a $200,000 grant that I got from Senator Amador 4 years ago.
Oh, right.
Because it took us 4 years to meet all the requirements, through the state and everything, just to finally be able to utilize that money. So, I mean, you're right. It's great getting these grants, but, I mean, there's a lot more behind it. It's not just getting the money and being able to spend it. There's a lot of red tape, and it's taken us 4 years, and it's just to do a 1,000-foot stretch of Main Street, relining the sewer line, the one section that we need to do, when we did our major relining. But it's taken 4 years to get to the position where we can actually spend that $200,000.
You think they would have, over the years, they would have streamlined that more than what they have. And I realized, they've done somewhat where now you got the CFA, where you got the consolidating funding that usually gets announced. Of course, it didn't this year in May, what their emphasis is on. But I remember what we went through at the Glasgow Mini Park with the grants. Just some of the 3 years. Yeah, and as both of you alluded to, all three of you alluded to, sometimes it ends up being a little more costly.
Yeah, it can be. We'll go back to all the funding we got from the hurricanes, the storm relief funding, the $3 million we got. Mm-hmm. I remember when I came out right after, in 2011, 2012, and the whole idea was, Como wanted this money out and people using it right away. We just finished using that $3 million. We're actually still working on it. I mean, we got a lot done with it, but it took years. We're just finishing up our last portion of that with the pre-filtration plant. At the reservoir. But it's taken us that long to get. The first thing we got done was the beach, which was 3 years ago or 4 years ago. But I still remember having those calls, and we had to form a committee. We had to make a list of what we wanted, because they wanted that funding to start immediately in the spring of 2012, and here we are 2020, and we're still trying to spend the money. But it was great funding, and it did provide a lot of.
It certainly worked. It's certainly a lot of work and a lot of effort. Obviously, you've been very, very successful, Heather, with that 1.4 over the course of the past 3 years. You've obviously put quite a bit of work and effort into it.
You want a job at Sorgady's? We can.
No, you stay away.
Well, I've been very blessed. I've worked with some really great people who have helped me through it, and we're also very blessed to have a lot of our town be part of the Ashokan watershed and their stream management program, which, if I'm not mistaken, is through Cornell Cooperative, is incredible. Some really good people over there that have really helped us out a lot with that.
They've been a great asset. I know it adds another layer of regulation for us, but for instance, yesterday when Mike and I were out driving around, we ran into a couple of them who were out assessing damage in the western end of the town.
Yeah.
So you probably work with them on a weekly basis?
Oh, yeah, if not more than that. Yeah, I work with them a lot.
Okay, so they're another great resource for us. I did have another question. So we have seen, I think over in Rhinebeck, there's a woman who runs the highway department. Mm-hmm. There was a woman who ran in Hurley for a while. But it still is a fairly male-dominated department.
Yeah.
How is that? Has that raised any challenges for you, or how's it been for you?
Well, I'm the only girl in the department, and I work with some really good people. We have a really good crew. The highway superintendent and the other deputy, Scott Bonesteel, they're wonderful. I think mutual respect is a huge thing. Our crew, the ages range drastically. We've got some really young guys, and we've got quite a few guys close to retirement, and we really do get along well. I think we all really do respect each other. I think, I work really hard to keep everybody on the same page and ensure communication between management and the crew. And I really do think we jive well.
You hit on a few critical words with mutual respect, one being a biggie, and then the other is communication. Yeah. When you have the mutual respect, when you have the communication, and everybody is communicating amongst each other, respecting each other, more importantly, working together, supporting, cooperating as a team. We've talked about this many, many times. That breeds one thing, success.
Yep. And one person can throw a wrench in all that.
Absolutely.
In any department.
Oh, yeah. Amen.
We've all seen it.
It certainly comes with its challenges every now and then, but it's, for the most part, I think, like you said, it's quite successful.
So how did you make out with, as far, did you get your full allotment of CHIPS funding?
Minus the 40% reduction.
Oh, so you encountered a 40% reduction?
It was.
I think, right? So my understanding from Pam, the bookkeeper, was that there was a $61,000 payment.
62.
62.
So I submitted everything for our chips and Pave New York and EWR. I submitted everything
70%
minus
we
the
got.
30% reduction that everyone got across the board.
30% reduction.
Was it 40 or was it 20?
No, I think it was 20.
Was it 20%
Yes.
reduction?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I don't have my numbers in front of me.
I think that's what it was with us. Because
20, right.
They were,
It was 20 then.
and Fred's not on right now. He was talking about it last week about some of the funding that they had anticipated during the budget process of not getting that they will be getting now. He referenced the AIM, and then that the CHIPS was only going to be 20%
20%.
instead of 40%.
I'm sorry.
But I think it might be at 40% with that one chunk missing.
I think that was just an error somewhere,
Right.
so I'll resubmit that one. We did have, out of everything that was submitted, there was 62,000, which was on one form that was not reimbursed. So that's just something I have to look into.
So, yeah, and I think
That we found out yesterday, so we're still fingers crossed and taking another look today.
see, we do our budget. Our budget starts June 1st, so we were kind of the beginning of the pandemic. But I think we were already aware there's going to be a cut. I think that was already announced prior to that. So I think we budgeted a 40% cut, and like you said, now it came at a 20%. So I think we're ahead of the game.
Well, early on, if you remember, especially with the e-letters that Peckham had sent, there was a possibility, they were projecting out there, and I'm sure you get those, Heather, that there might not be any CHIPS funding at all. And now I'm going back to when this thing really hit and the hot patch season, the blacktop season was right around the corner, and the hot plants were getting ready to open up. They were telling the highway superintendents, and then when the state announced that there was funding, they were encouraging everyone to spend the money by like the 1st of July, I think it was. Wasn't it that, right. Heather? I know there was a couple that went back and forth.
And you know what we did? That's how we bought our sweeper.
Oh, no fooling.
Yeah, we contacted them and found out that we could use CHIP funding to purchase our sweeper.
There's a lot of municipalities that actually roll over because
Yep.
if you don't use your CHIPS funding, specifically in the CHIPS line, if you don't use the total allotment, it'll roll to the next budget. But this year, everybody is like, we got to use this.
Yeah,
Because
don't want to lose it.
next year is uncertain, and that's a bit terrifying.
Yeah, my office staff looked into it, and because I think our sweepers, give or take, $100,000, $150,000, and we had about 60 or 70 fund balance in CHIPS, and we were able to apply that towards our sweeper, which is huge. Because we needed a new sweeper. Our old sweeper was about 30 years old, and we were spending more money to maintain it than it was worth. So, and it's, that's something in a village, like I'm sure you need. You got to have that. You have to have a sweeper.
Absolutely.
I
mean, hey, when people come into your business district, that first impression is big. It's huge.
And this new one's a lot more, what they say, it's dual instead of single, or vice versa. So it's a lot easier to maneuver, correct. Yeah, just the way it's set up, and and again, like you said, when you have a vibrant business district, you gotta have it. It's important. And I think the last one, the other one was so old, if you got behind it, it's like driving behind a dust storm.
And it's certainly a very high maintenance piece of equipment.
Oh, they are, yes. But I think the newer ones too are made to be more, from my guys say, they're easier to work on, and much, obviously it's been 20 some odd years since we purchased one, so we think this one will be much easier to maintain than the previous one.
Sure, and the technology that I'm sure has come, and I'm sure just like a lot of things, a lot of your sanders now, et cetera, right, that are computerized. I know our de-icing that we do in the parking lots at the police station, et cetera, the high use areas, that's all computerized. So it kind of takes out the human error, operator error, yep, and then also waste of product, which translates into waste of money.
I always remember talking to my grandfather-in-law, now deceased, Jim Rucci, and he was an old Glasgow guy who worked for the state
I knew
DOT.
Jim well.
And he used to tell me that he was a sander, but you know what the sanders were in his day? Back in a truck with a shovel, throwing it onto the road as they drove down the road. Yeah. That's how it was.
I just want to go back to something you said earlier about communication, Heather, and I have to just give you a little pat on the back because I think that's probably, among many, your strongest suit.
Thank you.
You've the communication, and not just within the department, but between the different departments, because ultimately we all really have to work together to make this happen. Between the town clerk and the bookkeeper and the highway and police, and you've really helped pull us together in that sense. So I do appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
You came to Woodstock from a bank?
A bank, yeah.
So let me ask you, 5 years ago when you were working at the bank, did you ever envision that you'd be sitting talking about mountain trucks and sweepers and chips?
It's so funny because when I worked for the bank, the girls there, we always had this kind of running joke going, because every time, a lot of county guys and it was over in the town of Olive, so a lot of the town guys would come into the bank, right? And the running joke was, oh my gosh, look at that truck, I want to drive it. Or
so you did talk a little about it.
I did, and it was always the running joke, like, oh, let's go see if Heather can run that truck today.
So a dream come true.
It kind of worked out.
I'm actually trying to get Heather to move to Woodstock so we can run her for highway superintendent when Mike retires.
So you know what you need to do, Heather?
Yes.
We always have Zamboni Monday. It's the day after we close the ice arena. You need to come down, get on the Zamboni.
Oh, my God.
We'll take some pictures and some videos and then distribute it to your crew up there.
I would love that.
We will make that happen.
Oh, my gosh.
You know what? I'm a little pissed off because I was never invited to ride the Zamboni.
What time?
Come on.
You have a legacy, Bill.
Yes, very good, Dan. That was good. That was a very good jump in, Dan.
And please
We'll
stay
be
out of my
down.
conversation, Dan.
Yeah, okay. All right. Sorry. That was my one for the day.
That was
Okay.
good. That was good.
You know what?
Dan.
I'll tell you
Respect
what. You're more than invited, but just let me. I have to know in advance because I have to contact our insurance and
Yes, that's
increase
fine.
our liability coverage, our insurance coverage fourfold.
I'm going to go over your head. I'm going right to Cleveland. Right to Cleveland. Rob, I want to drive the Zamboni.
We got to do that. You know that, Heather? And then post that video.
That would be cool.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to do it. We won't do it the first Monday in January. We'll plan to come down the second Monday.
Well, no. This is
End of the year, he
This
said.
is end of the year when we close.
Oh, when you close?
Yes, it's always we always close on a Sunday. So Zamboni Monday is the day after we close because if you wreck the ice,
who cares?
We don't care.
Oh,
You just
okay.
can't wreck the
So when is that going to be? I'm going to put it on the calendar.
That's going to be in May.
I'm not looking to drive the Zamboni. I just want to get the
Oh,
big
you
out.
big chicken.
We might have Heather working for us by then, Greg, so don't worry about it.
Oh, you can steal her as a grants writer. I'll steal her as a grant.
There we go. I think so.
And guess what? Bill McKenna will have contracts out for us.
I'll have contracts out on both of you.
We'll both be assassinated.
You just stay away. No, I might. Oh, I won't say that. Never mind.
And we're coming down to where I'm getting a signal where we got 1 minute before we're ready to go. And so Heather, throughout this past half hour, I heard your boss there say he's giving you a lot of pats on the back. Maybe a suggestion, Supervisor McKenna, a nice pat in the paycheck, maybe instead of on the back.
Well, thank you.
So we'll
see what we can do. And actually, just to be clear, I'm not her boss. I'm only the supervisor. She works for the superintendent.
You're still the head honcho of the town. So we've been very, very fortunate this past half hour, not only to have Supervisor Bill McKenna on with us, but Deputy Heather. I forgot your last name already.
Amy. Heather Amy.
Heather Amy. How did I forget that?
Two first names might have thrown you off.
That could have very, very well be. Well, Heather, thank you very much. We're going to have to get you back on the show. I'm looking forward to that Monday in May. I'm going to have to get a date from Mr. Kleeman, and we'll have a little fun.
And Heather, it's B Murphy at villageofsorgies.org. So if if McKenna screws up, just let me know.
Thank you, guys.
Have an awesome day. Thank you. Thank you very much, listeners. We'll be back in a few.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay, and thank you, Bill Murphy and Greg Shorvis, Bill McKenna, and Heather Amy, Deputy Supervisor for the Town of Woodstock's Highway Department. And you're with us here at KCR, Kingston Community Radio, on Super Wednesday, December 30th. 2 more days till 2021. It's 23 degrees right now here in uptown Kingston, and it's going to be a morning mix of clouds and sun, then more cloudy skies in the afternoon, high of 37. Tonight, 67% chance of evening showers, becoming an overnight steady light rain, a low down to 33. And Thursday, New Year's Eve, overcast day with a high of 42. And Thursday night, a few overnight clouds, a low of 23. And this last portion of Kingston Community Radio was brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Many locations throughout the Mid-Hudson Valley, locations near you, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Hi, I'm Steve Thomas for Habitat for Humanity Restore. Habitat Restores are nonprofit home improvement stores and donation centers that sell new and gently used furniture, building materials, and appliances to the public at a fraction of the retail cost. The Ulster County Restore at 406 Route 28 in Kingston needs your donations. Call our hotline at 845-853-7499 to schedule your free pickup. And thanks.
Do you love the festive decorations and colorful lights of the holiday season? Visit Central Hudson's Instagram page, central_Hudson, to vote for your favorite photo capturing the best decorated home in the Hudson Valley. Be sure to follow our Instagram page so that you may choose your favorite photo. Hurry, voting ends at noon on Wednesday, December 30th.
Hi, this is Dina Roy from Hurley, and I support the Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
And you're with us at Kingston Community Radio, WGHQ, AM 920 and 92.5 FM, the home of Kingston Community Radio. And it's Wednesday, December 30th, 23 degrees here in uptown Kingston. This upcoming portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Central Hudson. And let's get back to the on-air studio now with Greg Shorvis, Bill Murphy, and our new guest, Michelle Hinchy, is on the line also. Okay, welcome back.
And I always appreciated that.
Thank you very much, Dan Gatis, and welcome back, listeners who have been with us. We had a lively half hour. That was awesome, the last half hour. And those listeners just joining us, welcome. Good morning. 331-9255 is our call-in number. And fill some airtime while I get the birthdays, Mr. Mayor.
We do have birthdays, okay.
We can welcome Michelle Hinchy. She's on the line now.
Hi, Michelle. This is Bill.
Hi there.
You know what? I have to apologize to you. I wanted to reach out to you. I didn't have your number. I finally got your number, your cell number from Kevin last week, so I've been meaning to call you and congratulate you on your win. And Kevin's probably mad at me because he gave me your number last Wednesday. Then with Christmas, I didn't want to bother you over Christmas. And I was actually had a note on my desk to call you today. When I came in the radio station and found out you're going to be on the radio, I figured it would save me a phone call.
Well, there is two birds, one stone here, but thank you so much, and call me anytime.
Absolutely. I'm so excited that you pulled it out and you're going to be representing us. So, much congratulations to you. It's very well deserved.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to working with you.
It is. It's absolutely awesome. It was awesome news considering that was one remarkable comeback. Considering
I lost track of it. And then all of a sudden my wife goes, 2 weeks after, or a couple weeks after, she goes, Michelle won. I said, Michelle won? What? And I'm looking in the paper and she saw it on Facebook and I'm trying to find something in the paper. It wasn't in the paper yet, but you had posted something on Facebook or Kevin had. And I'm like, holy cow, that's awesome.
So the way I found out about it, we were finishing blowing water lines out, and it was getting dark, and this truck pulls up behind me. I was checking on the guys. I was leaving, and Kevin Hinchy jumps out of the truck and says, "Come on, we're going over to Sue's. Michelle pulled it out. I says, what? So I says, I have to go home and take a shower. I already have other plans. Tell her congratulations. I'd love to be there. But, that was just remarkable because obviously leaving the stable there election night, it didn't look so good. But man, it just was awesome news.
Yeah, and I only caught the tail end of your dad's term. I know he did a lot of work with Mayor Yerrick, so I'm looking forward to reinvigorating the Village of Saugerties Hinchy relationship going forward.
Absolutely.
Just be careful what you wish for. I'll probably bug you.
So we got to do birthdays. So if you just give us a minute, we'll do birthdays. I believe we have a couple.
I have two here, right?
Awesome.
Okay. I have happy birthday to Ted Benson from your wife, Janine, children, Janine, Andy, Kim, Jennifer, 10 grandchildren, and all the great-grandchildren. And then I have happy birthday to Amy McCann from nobody, but, or Paul Holtz, it looks like, from Paul Holtz. So, happy birthday, and Amy McCann.
And today's winner of the famous cow pie is Amy McCann.
And it says on her thing, please put her in a chance to win a cow pie, so her wish came true.
Well, her wish came true, and Amy McCann, when you get the opportunity, get down to Boy's Dairy Milk House right here in Kingston, New York at 62 O'Neill Street. Pick up your famous cow pie, which is courtesy of Boy's Dairy Milk House and Kingston Community Radio. And listeners, please continue to send in those birthdays. It's very easy, very simple to do. You can email to kcr921@gmail.com. You can postal mail to KCR, Kingston Community Radio, P.O. Box 4364, Kingston, New York, 12402. Once again, Amy McCann, congratulations. Enjoy your cow pie and have yourself an awesome day.
All right.
Good stuff.
Yes. So, Miss Hinchy, what do you have to discuss today with us?
Yeah. Well, no, I'll just jump on what we were saying before. It was a long 3 weeks there, but we had in our district alone, we had nearly 30,000 absentee votes or absentee mail-in ballots, and so we knew most of those people. All those ballots had to be counted, and so we weren't prepared to throw in the towel when we were down, a decent amount with 8,000 on election night because we were confident in the work that we did and the campaign that we ran. And lo and behold, 3 weeks later, we ended up winning by over 3,000.
I think, too, I think locally we probably lost track of it because we were so distracted by the national election, too,
Right.
Obviously,
the national election, the pandemic. I never realized that there was that number, 30,000
locally.
Absentee ballots out there, and obviously, when you have that kind of a number, and you're only down by 8,000, and of course, there is indication of where those came from. It was just, again, the only word I could describe is just remarkable.
Yeah, it's awesome. It was a pleasant surprise and a tough year.
Yes.
No question about it.
Yep. It just shows, we followed the same national trend. It's true. I mean, even us, we were following the national too. And when we finally got our final absentee ballot number, we were like, okay, this is tracking across the country. And, a lot of people, we in New York State don't have, hopefully we do moving forward and there's some changes to make, but we haven't historically had an absentee program or a vote by mail program statewide. It's always been, excused absences if you're out of the country or you can't get to the polls. And this year, as everybody knows, that was opened up because of COVID-19. And the number just grew so dramatically because people wanted to vote, wanted their voices heard, but wanted to vote safely, and to keep their family safe and didn't know how it was going to go, especially as the weather was getting colder. And, it's really heartwarming, I think, to see how many people voted this year, too, and wanted to be a part of the process. That's really exciting.
Well, it was good to hear the number, and I'm sure you experienced this. Mayor, I'm sure you experienced the same thing. The number of young people that were excited about being able to vote. It was the first time that they were voting. And some of these were 22, 23, 24-year-olds that just never took interest and never partook in the voting process. So that was very, very good to see. And the fact that there was early voting, I think just added to that and given people the ability to not just be locked into one day where they have to go vote. And I think you're going to see, as time goes on, I think you're going to see more and more people take advantage of early voting. And having said that, and this is something that, I had a brief conversation with Ashley with the Board of Elections. There were, just like other states, where I think there has to be, if this early voting, and I truly believe it's going to increase, where it has to end maybe the Sunday before Election Day, so that on Monday there's a chance for the people that work in the Board of Elections to count it, because the pressure that they were under had to be tremendous.
I think it proved it works. I think there's definitely some tweaks that need to be made to the system. So there is no scrutiny, and so I think you're going to see that process improve. But I think you're right. I think it's going to be the way of the future for a lot of people.
I mean, you take a look at some states, Michigan for one, I believe, they never started counting those votes until the day after election.
Yeah. Now, there's got to be some improvements to it so you don't have all the scrutiny we had this year, but I think it's setting the table for giving people, more and more people, the opportunity to vote. Because you're right, to pick one day of the year where you have to get out and cast your vote is,
It's difficult. It's difficult for people who have families, who have jobs. Sometimes they're working maybe 10, 12 hours.
Traveling.
Exactly.
There's always the absentee, but I think the write-in's going to, prove to really, because you need that say in the matter. I mean, you need everybody to have the opportunity to vote, and I think this year proved it. With Michelle's election and other elections that were decided afterwards because of the mail-in votes. And it gave more people the opportunity to vote, whether a Democrat or Republican.
Absolutely. No, I think you're right. I mean, having early voting now in New York State is a game changer. Voting on Tuesday when so many people are working and it's just and living their lives, it's just so hard. And so having early voting is a really incredible thing. And I think some of the changes we'll have to make too. I hope that we do go to a more robust vote by mail program and allowing people to vote absentee if they can and if they need to, if they want to. And one of the things, the reason why it took so long for our races in New York State, you're not actually allowed to count mail-in ballots until a week after the election.
Right.
So it was really confusing because when people would go to look at full returns, it would say 100% reporting, but it didn't include any of the absentee ballots.
Now,
that's one of the things that we definitely have to change.
What is, if you know, the rationale behind waiting a week?
So this is an old law. And it was, typically there's especially in a state like ours where we didn't have a robust absentee or mail-in ballot program, which is obviously the same thing, that the numbers just weren't there. And so usually they didn't have a major effect on the ballots and on the outcome of the race, and also making sure that there was enough time to collect all of them. Why they didn't start counting, I think they didn't expect it to really have an outcome on the race. Typically paper follows what's at the ballot. However, obviously not when you have 30,000 ballots in the mail. And so as we transition more to that, I'm hopeful, and I know there's legislation at the state level in the works for this, so that they can start being opened when they get in, right? And all of the people at the BOE can start to open them so they're not then held a week later for the next 4 weeks opening ballots. That's what they do across the country, with a lot of the states. That's why in the national level, when we were watching, they were opening mail-in ballots, and people didn't think that we had any here because we were delayed a week.
Right.
We were delayed an additional week because there was a number of lawsuits also that came up about wanting to kind of block and hold counting of absentees from our opponent. We then had a countersuit that said, we need to open all of the absentees. Every vote counts. Everyone should be counted. Let's open all of them. And that delayed it a little bit longer just due to paperwork, and then we were finally able to start.
Well, again, it's important to get, I mean, honestly, not for those 30,000 mail-in votes, you may not have won, right? I mean, and that's 30,000 people who have just as much right to vote as any people who showed up at the polls that day.
Absolutely.
You know, so it's a true measurement of the people. You know, counting those 30,000 votes for people who mailed them in. I mean, it's a truer number.
So
absolutely.
So you won by 3,000. Election night, I believe it was about 8,000. You were down. Am I correct?
Yep, we were down by 8,100, and we won. I think actually even closer to 4,000.
Wow. So okay, so then it was almost a $12,000 swing.
12,000 votes.
Yep.
So like 21,000 and 9,000 on the mail-ins, give or take.
Yeah.
We were never. So when we were down 8,100, that was the furthest we were ever down. You know, when we started counting the absentee ballots, we thought there was a chance, especially in some of the pockets, that weren't as friendly to us or a little bit more conservative. You know, we thought we would be down by more and then kind of make up the difference. And from the first day, we just made up ground. I mean, we won at the end of the day. I think it was about 62 or 67% of all of the absentees.
Wow, that's impressive. That's impressive. 67%. Wow.
Yeah. Well, you know, and you think a lot of those people believe in science, right? And believe that COVID was real and wanted to be safe, as we said before. And so I think, we had an idea, especially with how many there were, what the trend could be and what we kind of anticipated it to be. But it was even far and away in our favor, which was really wonderful.
But it's important that, this process not just be COVID related again, because COVID aside, there's many other reasons why people don't get out on election day and vote,
Right. We have talked from the start of this that there were going to be silver linings that came out of this. And many of our BMPs, our best management practices, were going to change. Absolutely. Okay. Here's one right here. Yep. I mean, that I could see. I just mentioned a couple minutes ago, I really think early voting is going to take off. I think next year you're going to see far more take advantage of it. And in the succeeding years, I think the number is going to grow.
Last night, ABC had a 2020 in review from 9 to 11. And, obviously focused on COVID and the election and all those things. But it also had a section on, the positive things that have come out of COVID, in our world and in our country. And, just the brotherhood of people, the people caring for people, the people helping people. I've said that all along. I think when it's all said and done, we're going to be a nicer society and more caring society than we ever were before because of what we've gone through.
Yeah, I agree. And we talked last half hour with the research and, with how they were able to come up with these vaccines, with the DNA and the RNA. That's going to, I think that's going to have a domino effect where it's also going to be, we'll be able to treat other illnesses and other diseases that we haven't been able to.
Yeah. That's exactly right. I think there's, through, as you said, I think everybody's been kind of looking for the good in this because there have been so many really dark days and we continue to see them. But you have to find, the silver lining and the good. And I think we'll be able to, fix a lot of things here and think more broadly about how we work together as a community, right? I mean, there are so many beautiful stories of community members and small businesses really stepping up to help people and to help each other and to help our neighbors. Everything from People's Place and the Y Farm to Diamond Mills and so many others that have just really stepped up in this moment to be there for each other. And I hope and I believe that that's not going to go away after this.
I think I see it. I see it in so many aspects too. Even in our education system now. I mean, now teachers have gotten more creative. That was a big part of the story last night. How many teachers in this country have stepped up and thought out of the box how they can keep through Zoom classroom and all that, engaging their students and just being more creative and there's just so many different things that can come out of this that we just got to get through it.
And the teachers did not forget about the kids. And you hear some of the stories, and there are just so many But, here, not even a teacher, a school resource officer, Travis Winchell, 14 students that have some learning disadvantages, where he is teaching them in the Greco Center so that they're able to graduate. Graduation. He's not even a teacher.
Not even a teacher.
He's the resource officer. But for him to take that initiative and to do that, and the stories, you could just go on and on for hours. But that's one that really sticks out in my mind. I know what your wife has done, and so many others. We've got Supervisor Fred Costello, I believe, back virtually. No, we have another caller. Good morning, caller. You're on the air with Kingston Community Radio.
Good morning.
Morning.
I don't think you really want to hear what I have to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. I see no value in early voting. I think it detracts from the election day process or whatever. It's a tremendous expense. People have always been able to vote by absentee ballot if they needed. And also, employers were required by law to allow their employees time off to vote. So, therefore, their extravagant expense of early voting really detracts from the day that is special for our country. And I will never vote early voting.
Well, I certainly respect your opinion. I don't agree with it. Respectfully, I don't agree with it. And I could be wrong, but in the private sector, I think the law that you're referencing is more for employees that are in the public sector. I do not believe, and again, I could be wrong, and maybe Michelle, you could correct me, or Mayor, you could correct me, private sector businesses are not obligated under law to allow their employees to leave during work hours to vote.
Yes, they are. That was always the law.
Okay. See, like I said, I did say I was not 100% correct, so I stand corrected. So thank you. I certainly respect your opinion on it. We all have opinions, and the most important thing is that we respect each other's opinion. We're never going to all agree. If we all agreed in this world,
it'd be pretty boring.
Things would not be right, and we would not be solving problems, and we'd not be solving issues. But again, respect your opinion and appreciate your call.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
The only thing I would, and I'll say thank you for calling too. And it's exactly right. We all need to be able to have the dialogue and be considerate and thoughtful to each other. It is hard for some people, even though employers say that they can give people off. Some people are scared to take that time off. Work gets really busy. Some people think that they're going to be able to take time, and then you work through lunch or you're not able to make it. And just to give people the opportunity and more flexibility in a time when we're all pulled in so many different directions. For me, I feel is important, and I feel like, making sure that everybody has a chance for their voice to be heard in electing people that will really have dramatic impacts on their life and how our community runs. The more people we can get into the system and into regularity of voting is important. But it's important to have the conversation too.
I just think the expense of something that is unnecessary, it's an expense to the taxpayers, and we're already taxed to the hilt. So, and they've always had the opportunity to vote either in person or by absentee ballot.
Okay. All right. Again, I certainly respect your opinion and respect your thoughts. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for call. Appreciate you calling in, and you have yourself an awesome day. And this is what this show is all about, and this is what everybody. It's good to hear everybody's opinion, and the caller made some points that hold a lot of validity. There's with a lot of things. There's it's with so many things. There's two sides to every coin. There's two sides to every street. Are you ever going to have a perfect scenario? A one-sided coin, a one-sided street? More than likely, no.
No, but be able to have that difference of opinion is why we live in the democratic society we live in.
Correct.
It's
very important to have that also.
Exactly.
Again, the main thing at the end of the day, at the end of conversation, is that everybody respects everybody else's opinion. We're never going to agree all the time. I happen to be where I did not agree with that caller on the early voting, but I certainly respect her opinions. And again, some of the points that she made do hold validity.
Listen, I mean, perfect example. My best friend in the world, and you know who that is. We've been brothers since we were in kindergarten. Mr. Freer and I, adamantly, were on opposite sides for this past election. I won't say whose side who was on. And we were away in Lake George the weekend in September. All the guys, our golf trip, and him and I got in a tremendous argument over it. Which him and I always fight anyways.
Come to fisticuffs?
No, I wouldn't hurt him anymore. But but that following week we got home and he's sending me some sarcasm, and I finally said, you know what, Stephen, we've been best friends for 50 years. Let's not ruin it over over a presidential election. Our friendship's worth more than that. You have your opinion, I have mine. Let's leave it at that. And to his credit, he's like, "You're right. I'm sorry." And I said, "I am too." And we let it go because you can't let politics come between friendships.
No, absolutely. You can't let anything. You have to separate it. We've got a caller. Good morning, caller. You're on the air with Kingston Community Radio.
Yes, I'd like to express my opinion about the woman that just called a few minutes ago. She's absolutely right. I agree with her 100%. Employers are required by law to allow their employees to vote. Paper ballots and early voting is what got us into the mess we're in today. The first Tuesday after the first Monday, I guess it is, that we vote in November, and that's Election Day. And there should be proof that you are who you are, your signature, your photograph, whatever it is. That's my opinion, and that's how I feel. And I don't think things should change that much. If you're too lazy or if you have a problem getting out to vote and you have proof that you had that problem, then good, vote absentee ballot. Otherwise, go to the polls and vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Respect your opinion and appreciate you calling in and expressing your opinion. Thank you very much for that. You have an awesome day. So we're getting near the bottom of the hour. Michelle, you're going to stay on, right till 9 o'clock?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good, great. So we have a couple more minutes here, and I believe Supervisor Costello is going to be joining us. You have to leave.
I have to leave. I have to go back to my day job.
You have to go back to your day job.
Yes. Yeah. End of the year crunch at IBM, so I got to take care of that.
You're a busy man. You wear two hats.
Yeah, usually 3 this time. I was telling somebody last night, this is the first winter in 32 years I haven't had to run basketball, and as much as I miss it and I miss the kids, it's a welcome break for my personal life.
I'm sure you've kept track of this. How many years?
32.
32 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
That's
it's
amazing.
It's actually nice just having a little, especially right now with my daughters being home, and it's been even my wife says, she goes, I haven't seen you this relax in December in 30, since I've known you. We've been together 28 years. I'm like,
well,
yeah.
I remember more than 30 years ago, excuse me, when I was running, the youth basketball leagues. Unlike you, I was not running all three age groups. Right. You run Biddy, you run junior, you run senior, and then, of course, back then there was no separate girls basketball, which you instituted, and then also a summer youth program, right? Basketball program?
Yeah, we had a couple years of the senior summer program, but that kind of didn't take off.
By the way, so, yeah.
But in the last 4 or 5 years with Tiana, we started the preschool basketball league, the 5 to 8 year old league that we started. We started that 3 or 4, Mike Tiano, and yeah, it's been great. I mean, last year we had over 400 kids in it, but wow, it's disappointing not to have it this year. But it's personally, especially if obviously the year it's been a welcome break for me.
Well, also with the fact that all the additional work and stresses that have come with dealing on a day-to-day basis with this pandemic, okay, and many days between you, Fred, myself, we're on calls, we're dealing with this, dealing with that. As you said, it's disappointing, but it would have been almost impossible.
It would have been impossible. And, I even thought that possibly come January, maybe I could get something together, but I don't think that's going to happen.
No, I don't think
I just got to call for the year, more than likely, unfortunately.
Unfortunately. Okay, so we're out of time. I'm getting the signal from the control tower, and we'll be back in a few with Michelle Hinchy, our newly elected representative, and hopefully Supervisor Fred Costello.
Bye, Michelle. I'll be in touch.
Sounds good.
We'll be back in a few.
Okay, and thank you, Michelle Hinchy, for calling in today, and that is New York State Senate-elect Michelle Hinchy. Greg Shorvis and Bill Murphy, thank you for hosting this last portion of Kingston Community Radio. It is Wednesday, December 30th, and 23 degrees here in uptown Kingston. It's a possibility of a little snow, a morning mix of clouds and sun, then more cloudy skies in the afternoon, and just a little possibility of some snow flurries. Tonight, 60% chance of evening showers, becoming an overnight steady light rain, a low of 33. And Thursday, New Year's Eve, overcast day with a high of 42. New Year's Eve night, a few overnight clouds, low of 23. Friday, New Year's Day, partly cloudy in the morning, giving way to light rain or snow, developing in the afternoon, a high of 38. 40% chance on New Year's Day. And New Year's Day night, 78% chance of rain and snow, and then rain overnight, a low of 32. And we'll be right back.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Hi, I'm Steve Thomas for Habitat for Humanity Restore. Habitat Restores are nonprofit home improvement stores and donation centers that sell new and gently used furniture, building materials, and appliances to the public at a fraction of the retail cost. The Ulster County Restore at 406 Route 28 in Kingston needs your donations. Call our hotline at 845-853-7499 to schedule your free pickup. And thanks.
Don't. Just don't. If you see a low-hanging or downed wire, don't touch it. Don't move it. Don't go near it. Don't drive over it. It may be a power line carrying an electric current strong enough to kill. But here's what to do. Stay at least 30 feet away and call 911. Central Hudson will take care of the problem. If you come close to a wire, shuffle away with small steps and watch your step. Wires may be hidden in fallen tree limbs or near water. Your safety matters.
Hi, this is Eleanor Arrow from the town of Ulster, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
And today is Wednesday, December 30th, 23 degrees here in uptown Kingston. You're with us on KCR, Kingston Community Radio, WGHQ, 920 on your AM dial, 92.5 FM, and streaming online at mykcr.org. And 331-9255 is your phone number to call in, 331-9255. The following segment of KCR is brought to you by Herzog's. The last portion of Kingston Community Radio was brought to you by Central Hudson. And this portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Herzog's. At Herzog's Home and Paint Center, community, family, neighborhood all matter. Stop by Herzog's Home and Paint Center in the Kingston Plaza for all of your home building and maintenance and painting needs. Discover the difference of buying local. Sales ongoing at herzogs.com. And let's get back to the on-air studio with Greg Shorvis and Michelle Hinchy. Welcome back.
Thank you, Dan Gatis, and welcome back, listeners who have been with us and those just joining us for this last half hour on the eve of New Year's Eve. Welcome. 331-9255 is our call-in number. We do have Michelle Hinchy on, our newly elected representative, virtually. If you have any questions for Michelle, and I believe we also have Supervisor Fred Costello on virtually. We got you back.
Yes, we do. Good morning.
Good morning again.
Good morning, Greg.
Good morning.
Good morning, Senator. How are you?
Good. Doing well. How are you doing today?
Very good. Very good. Thank you for coming on. We're so happy to have you.
And we're going to make
Happy
you
to be here.
We're going to make you a regular. You're going to be a monthly guest, whether you know it or not.
I love it. I'm in. I'm thrilled for that.
Awesome.
I'm looking forward to be able to come in and catching up with you guys, but also being able, I think we're going to have a busy session this year. So as much as I can come on and provide transparency and give you both and everybody a look into what's going on at the state level, that's important. And that's what we're here to do. So thrilled about that slot.
Yeah, after the radio show a little bit later today, I'll just text you a couple of different Wednesdays where we have open slots and the times, and you can choose what works best for you.
Perfect.
And then we'll get it out there
lock
to
it
our
in.
listeners and on our Facebook and page and website as a regular guest.
That sounds great. That sounds great. We'll have lots to talk about.
Yes.
There's going to be a lot going on this session.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You've only been sworn in for a short amount of time, but you've already jumped in deep on a number of projects. I know you were an advocate all summer to try to protect Catterskill Cove and Platte Cove, and that work will continue. And also the storm damage from the recent storm, you were out and about assessing and trying to get help for communities that were impacted by the storm.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't actually take office until January. So, we've been setting up our office. Well, just a quick plug, we will have our district office in Kingston, and starting January 4th, we will be open to help people with whatever their issues are, whether it's unemployment needs or whatever it may be. We don't have a phone number yet, but once we do, we will be sharing that out for people to contact us. So that will all be coming next week, which is exciting to be up and running. But yeah, I want to dive right in. I mean, we're here to help people, and we're here to make voices heard. And especially now being in the majority conference, we have an ability to elevate some of these issues. And the storm damage, the damage from the storm last week is tremendous. I mean, looking over in Phoenicia and 214, the road that connects Phoenicia and Hunter. I checked out some of the storm damage in Jewett up in Greene County the other day, and this is going to take a lot. These are not minimal road fixes. I mean, the roads quite literally washed away in the storm, and so I've already been on the phone with Senator Tim Kennedy, who is the transportation chair for the Senate, talking with him, getting connected to DOT. We've gotten some updates on their timing. We've reached out to the town supervisors and the highway departments to see what their status is and if we can be helpful at the state level, and just making sure, if we are able to unlock, to call it a state of emergency and unlock some FEMA money, and if not, what we need to do and how we need to plan to rebuild and update our infrastructure here in upstate is really important. So we jumped straight into that because nobody really saw that coming, and these roads are so critically important to how people live their lives.
So parts of 214 washed out during this recent storm?
It did in Phoenicia.
Oh, wow.
I'll send you the photo.
Did not know that.
You can see I tweeted something on Twitter. I posted both photos from a reporter, Joe Mahoney, who posted photos from 214, and then I posted photos from Jewett Heights Road in Jewett. I mean, they're just gone.
Wow.
Almost one whole lane of a 2-lane road.
Well, that's too bad. But they got it obviously much worse. I heard Supervisor McKenna, I'm not sure when he was referencing either the mountaintop, Hunter Tannersville, or possibly his up on Willow, 6 inches of rain. And that's just a tremendous, tremendous amount of water. And on top of it, and I'm sure there was more snow up on the mountaintop than what we had here, you have all the liquid that was contained in the snow that melted and washed away. So that 6 inches probably translated into close to an accumulative equivalent of 10 inches of water.
Yeah, if not more. There were feet of snow across our region, and it was a lot to kind of melt all at once. Over here on Fish Creek, there are those little falls, and I went down the next day and they were nearly flat. And that's a lot of water if you've seen the falls over on Fish Creek to have it be nearly flat. So, we've got to think about that as we have, different weather patterns happening. Our infrastructure is old in general in a lot of parts across our district and across upstate. We've gotten some great projects recently, but there's a lot more to do. Water infrastructure alone in our district, we calculated the need. It's about $85 million. And so the average age is about 82. So things are going to need to be replaced in timely manners, and that costs money. And I think now being in the majority, we can advocate in a really loud way to do that. But we also have the effects of climate change, too, right? And as we have different weather patterns and water levels rising, for many of our communities that live on the river, we've got to make sure that we're insulated and that we're protected as these levels continue to rise.
You make a very, very good point about infrastructure. Our infrastructure that's in place for the most part, unless it's been upgraded in the last 10 or 15 years, maybe even going out as far as 20, that might be a little bit far, cannot handle the weather that we experience as a result of climate change in this day and age. Because we see this now where years ago, it was the exception rather than the norm. But these large storms that we get, as we experienced just recently, and with the snowfall, which was, again, much greater, as you mentioned, a couple feet of snow up on the mountaintop, is become more of the norm rather than the exception, and our infrastructure was never, ever built to accommodate that.
Great.
Right.
So we've had 3 events that were categorized as 100-year events in the last decade. That kind of says it all. In this most recent storm, to kind of put a perspective on it, the reservoir had drawn down for 2 reasons. One, they're shipping their water through the aqueduct on our side of the river is closed because it's being repaired. And they drew it down pretty significantly in the fall. And the second motivation was to have a reserve in case there was a flood. The reservoir accepted 24 billion gallons of water the last storm, and now they're back up in the 90% capacity. So right now, the reservoir, the DEP, has begun a release program, which will affect all of the lower Esopus once again, because they're going to be dumping water our way. And it's restricted up to 600 million gallons, but it's, the infrastructure that we designed was because these storms only happen once every 100 years. But if they're going to happen multiple times in a decade, it goes back to the point Michelle was making. Our infrastructure needs to be updated in a way that reflects that. And it's going to be a continuing challenge for all of us trying to provide a public service. And Michelle's already reflecting that and articulated it really well this morning. So thank you for being in tune with that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'll say, too, in the conversations that I've had with Senator Kennedy, we've talked about just in the last 48 hours trying to put together a type of upstate infrastructure package to make sure, they're thinking about this. And, it's always good to hear that the chair of the Transportation Committee is thinking about the effects of climate change and building and rebuilding and strengthening upstate's infrastructure. So we've gotten in early, and they know that it's something that's really important here for us. So we'll be included in those conversations, which is exciting.
And I can somewhat envision another round of we just are finishing up a program with the state and federal government, and that we've spent about $8 million upgrading road infrastructure, and the most recent project is a hardening of the Malden wastewater facility that will anticipate high water, protect the plant from the impacts of a flood, but also protect the river from the impacts of all that sewer leaking out if the plant was compromised. So New York Rising, it was called. That was a really successful program, but it's ending. So as we move forward, we're going to need the federal government as a partner to kind of anticipate what the next round of that might look like.
Yep.
So,
we'll put that on our radar too. You know, we're advocating the federal government for a lot of assistance because they need to step up in this moment, and those are the programs that we need to make sure don't get lost.
Yeah, and actually, Michelle, I think those big infrastructure projects, the price tag is enormous, obviously, but I believe there's a job story and an economic benefit with projects like that that is understated. One of our country's best periods of growth was when we were building the highway system and we were improving the rail system. And I think, as a successful way, especially coming out of the pandemic, investments in that type of infrastructure will make our country stronger and create the opportunity for good-paying jobs. I think that's a win-win.
You're absolutely right. I mean, Assemblywoman Pat Fahey has a bill about a big public works program, right? And getting people kind of a New Deal-like program to get people back to work, doing this exact kind of stuff, whether it's upgrading our infrastructure, expanding broadband access. There's a lot that we could do that will put people to work. And there's a lot of these programs that in partnership with the state and federal government will unlock the funds. And so it's not necessarily just raising taxes on people at all. It's making sure that we are raising revenue from the state and we're doing we have creative revenue measures to make sure that we are bringing in money, not from taxes, and making sure that the federal government sees how important this is and gets involved, because you're right, the economic impact and the job opportunity here is huge, and it's something that we need. And as we build back we needed it before COVID, but hopefully, we talked about the silver linings before. This is one of those silver linings that will hopefully be able to shake people loose to want to do something at this scale, which I think will really dramatically, positively impact our communities.
Agreed. And you touched on another hot point, and this is relevant for us in Saugerties in your district overall. Rural parts of the state are underserved from a broadband perspective, and there needs to be investments there as well. And it's particularly challenging. There's a lot of areas in Saugerties where spectrum doesn't even exist, and they tell the potential customer that, if you are willing to spend $15,000 to bring the wire up to your road, we will happily charge you $80 a month for internet service. And that's obviously not a practical solution to broadband needs. And I think one of the lessons of pandemic was the importance of broadband for education, for people to be able to work remotely, and for people to be able to stay safe.
Absolutely. We talked about that a lot in our campaign. And when we talk about the need for broadband, people are always surprised that I say it's happening in Saugerties too. There's a story of someone we talked to who lives across the street from a development, and they're trying to charge him $30,000 to run the cable, right? I mean, that is insanity for something that, we're expected to have at this point in our lives and at this point in our development. Not having access to the internet is not thought of as a possibility for most people. And, both from, a health and safety perspective, from, in this moment, especially for seniors, if we're talking about telemedicine and we're telling people not to come into the hospitals and to their doctors, how else are you going to get your refills of your prescriptions and your doctor's appointments if something goes wrong, right? If you're trying to do telemedicine, but you don't have internet access or reliable access. The education piece, as you've touched on, is critical. And there's a bill that will be taken up, hopefully, I believe, in January, about providing access to every household that has a student during this period, which at least is a start. People require it. People need it. And then the economic impact, people who are working from home or wanting to start businesses. If you can't manage that piece, or you can't manage an online portal from your home, you're not going to do it, right? So we've gone past the point of internet or broadband being a luxury, and we now need to figure out quickly how we can really scale this out and get it to people.
Yeah, and you're right on. And I actually think there's a point of our nation's competitiveness in the global market if we don't have a robust broadband system coast to coast
that we've actually put ourselves in a compromised position relative to our peers across the globe. It's not really an option. It's just as important as the road in front of our house, the gas pipe or the electric service in front of our house. Broadband has reached that level of importance.
Absolutely. It's almost a utility at this point, right? And so we should be treating it as such.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to, you almost took the words right out of my mouth. It's become a necessary utility.
Right on, Greg.
I just can't imagine operating without the so many resources that the internet provides.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you look at what we do, how we conduct business, how we conduct meetings, how we serve the public. None of that would be possible without the internet, and those people are being deprived that do not have that. And to tell a homeowner or a group of homeowners it's going to cost $30,000, as you put it, is absolutely ridiculous, absurd.
It's highway robbery.
And then, by the way, pay me $80 to $100 a month, every single month, for the service on top of it.
Right. Yeah, that's the insult to the injury. It's for the privilege to be a customer. And, it's difficult. And I work with Spectrum on a regular basis, and, they have this problem throughout their service area. And Broadband for All is a pretty robust and successful program in some ways. I don't think the use of the census block was an effective means to identify whether an area is properly served or not, though. I think as we move forward and we find another way to analyze the spectrum of service, I think the census block is not necessarily the best way to do it. I think we need to be more specific about neighborhoods. And, in Saugerties, there's a road that is served from two directions, and then in the middle of that road, there's a group of homes that's not served at all. And that's plainly unfair. And Spectrum has pledged that that's part of their build out. It hasn't happened yet. So there's people who work for government agencies that live on that road that have to go to a friend's or the library to gain access to the internet. And then there's teachers who can't perform their job effectively that live there as well. And, then there's just the other families that might want to stream video, and that's a fair demand for broadband as well. But that's only one instance in Saugerties, and that example carries out throughout their service area, I'm sure.
Yep. No, it does, and I think that's part of the problem is it's expensive to run. I totally understand that, but these companies have said that they would expand and that they have coverage, but at the end of the day, they don't, and no one's holding them accountable, right? We don't have solid mapping to show where those holdouts are. So if they say they have coverage in an area, they blanket that whole area as opposed to pinpointing these exact scenarios. And there's been no method to do that to this point. And that's one of the big issues. And, I think we're waiting for a bill to be signed that would allow for more concrete and more specific mapping, which is exciting. But, if that doesn't get signed, then we've got more work to do, because that's the first piece of making sure that we can pinpoint exactly where these issues are in a formal way. So then we can hold them accountable to make sure that they actually run the network.
Yep. And we all know, the governor threatened to kick Spectrum out of New York a couple of years back, so he understands the problem. But I think absent federal leadership, it's impossible to resolve this. If you look back when we electrified the country, the deal was the federal government would help, but you had to service the rural farms, which were much more rural back when we electrified the country. And when we did the copper telephone network, it was the same deal. We're going to let you make a lot of money wiring New York City, but in exchange for that, you are going to wire a rural farm in Kansas so that they have a telephone as well. And we need that same standard now. We need to acknowledge that broadband service providers can make a lot of money in dense parts of the country, But in exchange for that, you're going to run wires to rural areas where you're not going to make as much money, and there'll be participation by the government to assist with that, but there's going to be some sacrifice to those companies. And that's not an unfair ask. It's just, this is an important utility, and it became a really important infrastructure, and that's the only way this problem will get fully resolved.
Yeah, and I think I agree with you. I don't think it's unfair either. I think it's very fair.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah,
Agreed.
amen to that.
Yeah. We're solving a lot of problems this morning.
We see, look what we could do.
Yeah, we're just getting started.
It certainly has been lively since you hopped on, Michelle.
That's what we're here.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for.
That's right.
Yes. We're excited to join.
That's right. Yeah, it's going to be exciting. So you actually don't take a seat until New Year's Day?
Right. So January 6th is the first day of session. You know, typical normal years, January 6th would be our formal swearing in. It would be the first day of session. Everyone would be up in Albany. There'd be lots of meetings. I believe the same day as State of the State. And, that's really where we kick it off. And because of COVID, really all of that is virtual. You know, none of that is happening. So first day of session is still the 6th, but there's not really a formal swearing in. We went up last week, just family to, sign the paperwork and see the chamber and do that. But it's all official come January.
So
but it's a different time with COVID. It takes the pomp and circumstance kind of out of everything.
Right. So you and other newly elected have already been sworn in.
Well, so swearing in actually technically is signing paperwork.
Right.
At
yes.
this point, they've made it that, and so we won't have we'll do a virtual swearing in for the community that in January that we'll be sharing out. We'll do a Facebook Live, more official swearing in for the district. But we've signed the paperwork and went up to Albany to to check it out last week.
Okay.
But yeah, all of that will kind of take place officially in January.
Gotcha.
There's an excitement about the traditional way of doing it prior to COVID, where you get that all the newly elected together. The governor presents an agenda for the session. There's an excitement and an energy that we do kind of miss, I think. But obviously the times are dictating a different method, and I have no doubt that we will find a way to be effective doing it virtually. But there is, that pomp and circumstance does have a value. It's kind of fun.
It feels almost more real, right? It kind of kicks it off and gives this moment to say, like, okay, now let's get down to work. So without that, it does feel a little bit more of this kind of a ethereal thing. But, for me, I got in this and decided to run and to help people. And, when more do we need that than in the middle of this pandemic? And hopefully, there's a light at the end of the tunnel here with this vaccine, but now more than ever, right? And to think kind of big picture about how we can build out broadband and work with the federal government, about how we can put people to work and the kinds of programs that we can create and the way that we should smartly build back infrastructure, that's all going to happen now. And, while we miss kind of the real kickoff to the job and to the new session and to the new team, it actually just goes further to reminding us, how important it is to be there right now.
Sorry to interrupt, Senator Michelle Hinchy, but we are out of time. I'm getting the signal from the control tower. Thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule. I'll be back in touch. We'll line something up where you're a regular guest. Thank you, Supervisor Fred Costello, Supervisor Bill McKenna, and his Deputy Highway Superintendent, Heather Amy. Thank you, Dan Gatiss, and more importantly, thank you, listeners. Happy New Year, and we'll be back here in 2021 next week.
Okay. Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you, Michelle.
Happy New Year. Thanks for having me.
Okay, and thank you very, very, very much. Greg Shorvis and Bill Murphy and Bill McKenna Fred Costello and Michelle Hinchy, and of course our other guest, Amy, Heather Amy. It's now 8:59, Wednesday, December 30th, 25 degrees now here in Uptown Kingston. This last portion of Kingston Community Radio was brought to you by Herzog's. Discover the difference of buying local. Herzog's in the Kingston Plaza here in Uptown Kingston. We invite you to be with us tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. for Kingston Community Radio, and we now return you to Real Country Radio.
Hard times coming down.